Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I am so very glad that you're here. Today's video is my May reading roundup, which is super exciting. I always look forward to filming these videos like weeks in advance. The whole time I'm reading I'm like, I can't wait to talk about this book in my roundup. I read a good couple of books this month actually. I did not bad considering that this was sort of a busy month. I finished high school this month. Woo! So I had some last minute revision to do for exams that I had to take before I left and stuff like that. I've also recently got really into crocheting, so a lot of the time that I could have spent reading I did admittedly spend crocheting instead, but I don't have a problem with that. I've had a lot of fun. Maybe at the end of the video I'll show you the crochet projects that I'm currently doing and sort of like a progress update. I might show you another one next month, who knows. But we're just gonna for now get into the books. Okay. So the first book that I read this month was Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. I hope I've pronounced that right. This book follows the narrator Kathy, who's 31 years old, as she retells or recounts her childhood at a school called Hailsham. And starts to discuss the fate that have always awaited her and her friends who also went to Hailsham. It's set in a sort of dystopian England. It's the only way I can think, and to me this is a book that sort of deals with humanity, what actually makes a person a human being, as well as morality and ethics. It's a really interesting read. I quite enjoyed this book. I gave it a 4 stars and I do stand by that review. Although when I first gave it the 4 stars I wasn't sure that I was going to put it up that high. But I feel like this is one of those books that the impact it has on you gets stronger as the day goes by when you finish it. Like I feel like when I first finished it I was like, oh, that was like, wow, moving on. And it wasn't until maybe like a day or two later that it would like creep up on me when I was like not doing anything and I'd be like, oh, I can't let it go. But it's a really well written book. I think everyone who's read anything by Kazuo Ishiguro knows that he is an exceptionally talented author. It's got such interesting language. It's a very conversational book. It's written from it's written as if the narrator Kathy is having a conversation with you and she's like telling you these stories. So I always find that really interesting because it's much less formal of a tone than some other books, and I thought that it was very interesting to pair with what is a book that handles a quite dark, serious concept. I thought that was very interesting. I liked the way she discussed her peers. I did take a while to form a connection to the characters. It took me longer than I thought it would, but I definitely was attached to a good couple of them by the end of the book, and it definitely, the ending had the impact on me that it should have. I cried. It's not hard to make me cry, but I feel like most people would cry at the end of this, so I don't feel embarrassed. But I definitely think that this is a book that you should read. I have one of his other books on my shelf and I'm quite excited to read that and then possibly buy some more. I've seen a lot of people on BookTube in the past couple of months talking about his newest release, so maybe I'll get that next. Who knows? The next actual book I read was Breathless by Jennifer Niven. This book follows Claudine Henry, who goes with her mother to a remote Georgia island after her dad decides that he wants a divorce, and they sort of have to deal with that. And when she's on the island she meets this boy called Jeremiah and they have a whirlwind summer romance that they both know can only last the summer. I really enjoyed this book. I love Jennifer Niven's writing style. I love All the Bright Places. You've seen before, it's one of my all-time favourite books. It's the book that I've read the most times out of any other book that I own, and a big part of that is the way that Jennifer Niven writes. I admittedly wasn't as much of a fan of her other book, what's it called? Holding Up the Universe. I didn't enjoy the premise of that one quite as much, but I really enjoyed this one. I think this one was the closest of her other books that I've read that came to the feeling that All the Bright Places gave me, so I gave this a 4 out of 5 as well. I really enjoyed Claudine. I liked how human she was. I liked that I could always understand her reaction to things, and 9 times out of 10 thought she was pretty justified in the way she felt, even when other people seemed to be averse to justifying her feelings. It was a lot of fun. I thought this definitely was a good romance. It was a romance that I understood. It was well written, well executed. I very much enjoyed it. I think part of it, again, as with The Appeal of All the Bright Places, is it comes from a very personal place from the author, and you can feel the passion through the pages. So I very much enjoyed it. I would recommend, if you're looking for just like a kind of fun YA romance, definitely a one to check out. It was very good. If you're in America watching this and you want to buy this book, I want you to know how insanely jealous I am of you, because the American cover for this book is gorgeous. It doesn't look like this. I don't think this is bad, but the American cover is so pretty, and I'm so upset that I don't have it. The next book that I consumed this month was actually an audiobook, and it was the audiobook of Boyfriend Material by, I think, Alexis Hall. If I've gotten that incorrect, I'll correct myself down here somewhere. But I gave that a 3.5 out of 5, maybe raised to a 4. It was just like a stupid rom-com fake dating novel. My first fake dating novel I think I've ever read, and I loved it. I thought the characters were brilliant. The main character, Lucian, is hilarious, and it was even funnier, I think, listening to it, because the guy who voiced it was an actor, so he like properly took on these characters and made them feel like people. It was almost like listening to a radio play or whatever, which I thought was brilliant. He got all of the characters so well, and it was so funny. Even like the woman, brilliant. I just really enjoyed the novel. If you have the chance to listen to it, I listened to it on Spotify. It's on Spotify, the full thing. Or you could read it. I reckon it would also be a really funny read to be able to like read the jokes in your head. So yeah, if you're looking for a rom-com, I definitely recommend Boyfriend Material. It follows Lucian, who is the son of an old 80s rock star who's a bit of a disaster, and who has to deal with the repercussions of being born to 2 famous parents and having the press follow him. And he's struggling with some like trauma from a past relationship where his boyfriend sort of ratted him out to the press, and he really needs to find a boyfriend so that he doesn't get fired from his job. And he meets a lawyer called Oliver, who's quite uptight and much more put together, or appears to be much more put together than Lucian is, and they agree to fake date for their mutual benefit despite them perhaps not liking each other very much. And it's hilarious, and I loved their dynamic as things progressed. I really liked Oliver. I liked this sort of multifaceted sides that we got to see of Oliver as the book progressed. I liked how much of an utter disaster Luke was. I thought it was hilarious because it was so undeniably British, which I found very entertaining. I think a lot of YA novels are set in America, and I don't mind that, but it's fun every now and again to come across a novel that you didn't know was going to be so quintessentially British, and having a brilliant time reading it. A lot of the jokes that they were making, I just knew that if an American person was reading, like, they would go, but it wouldn't hit the same. It was very self-deprecating. It had that like polite but self-loathing humour that British people tend to favour, and I had lots of fun reading it, or I suppose listening to it. So I definitely recommend you checking that out if you're looking for a fun little rom-com. It's definitely a good one to have a go at. And then last up, I will share with you my current read, because I've not finished it, so I can't put it as a finished book in this month, but I reckon I might finish it before the month ends. I'm about a quarter of the way in just now, but I think this is going to be a novel that takes me a little bit longer to read than some others, because it's a classic and I take a bit longer to sit and get through them because the language is slightly different, and my brain sometimes switches off if I find the language difficult, so it takes a little bit longer. But I'm up for the challenge because it is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I don't know why I've never read this before, actually. I'm surprised at myself I've never read this before, But last year in my drama class we were asked to watch the National Theatre production of Nick Dear's adaptation, the play, and I really enjoyed it, and I thought, well, I need to read the novel now. So I bought it and I'm reading it, and so far I'm enjoying it, but I'll put it in next month's roundup even if I finish it before June starts, so that you can hear my final thoughts. Okay, so that is all of the books for this month, but before I go I'm going to show you my crochet projects. So this is number one. It looks like this. It's this thick and it's taller than me, so I can't show you the length of it, but just trust me that there's a lot of it. I ran out of wool, unfortunately. It was wool that was gifted to me by my aunt, and when I went to buy more they didn't have any, and I don't know that they'll restock it, which makes me very sad, because when I say to you that this is the best thing I've ever felt in my life, I'm really not exaggerating, and I'm really quite sad that I might never get to have a completed blanket made out of it. But I will show you my main project. Okay, I have received it. So this is, I'm making a blanket, and it takes so long. I understood before why people who crochet and knit and sell the stuff they make price so high, because it takes a long time. But I don't think I really realised how long of a time it took until I started trying to make a blanket. And how much wool it takes as well. So this is my start. And this is, I'm on my 4th ball of wool. 4. I've got like 5 more up on my wool shelf, but I think I'm going to need a lot more, which is insane to think about. But anyway, crochet project number 2. My excuse for why I have been reading less than I perhaps would have liked. But it's fun. I like crocheting. It gives me something to do with my hands when I'm watching TV. Okay, so that is all for today's video. Thank you very, very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. If you're not a subscriber and you'd like to be, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to let me know by liking. And if you have any suggestions for videos that you would like to see from me in the future, please comment and let me know. I will see you next week. Goodbye.